Madam Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and agree to the bill H.R. 8665.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
65, a bill to amend Title 44, United States Code to remove pronouns from such title that reference the archivist and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia, Mrs. Norton, and the gentlewoman from New Mexico, Ms. Herrell, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from the District of Columbia.
I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks and include extraneous material on this measure.
Without objection.
I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
H.R. 8665, the National Archives and Records Administration Modernization Act, would make a small yet important update to the U.S. Code. This bipartisan bill would remove references to the pronoun he when referring to the archivist and other senior officials of the National Archives and Registration Administration, or NARA. I would like to thank Representative Ro Khanna, Chairman of the Subcommittee on Environment on the Oversight Committee, for his leadership on this incredibly important bill. I would also like to recognize Representatives Yvette, Herrell, Katie Porter, Byron Donalds, and Danny Davis, who are all original co-sponsors. As the nation's record keeper, NARA plays a critical role in the preservation of the government's most important documents and materials. NARA's mission is to provide equitable public access to the records of the federal government, because public access to records strengthens democracy and allows all Americans to understand their history so they can fully participate in government. Currently, the NARA is being led by Deborah Steigel Wall, who is serving as acting archivist of the United States and has been a public servant at NARA for more than 30 years. However, the United States Code does not reflect on in its text that women can hold this important position. The code is outdated in its references to the nation's archivists and other senior officials as men. It is long overdue that we update Title 44 to remove reference to pronouns in the law that wrongly assume that only a man can hold this important role. I strongly support this bill and reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman from New Mexico is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of H.R. 8665, the National Archives and Records Administration Modernization Act, offered by Mr. Khanna and myself. The National Archives and Records Administration plays an important role in securing our nation's history for future generations. This simple legislation updates archives authorizing law to ensure that the archivist is not referred to solely as a male. This makes sense since our current acting archivist, Deborah Wall, is a female. To date, there have been 3 female archivists, yet there are several instances where Title 44 still refers to the archivist as a man. Although the code as written does not preclude a woman from serving as the archivist, these changes would update outdated language in Title 44 and modernize our federal code to make it more uniform across the board. Replacing this outdated language in our federal code is the very least we can do to acknowledge the valuable contributions of thousands who have worked at NARA since its creation in 1934, and the thousands more who will work there in the years to come. I urge my colleagues to support this bipartisan legislation, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman from the District of Columbia is recognized.
Madam Speaker, if the gentlewoman from New Mexico has no further speakers, I'm prepared to close.
Gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman from New Mexico is recognized.
Madam Speaker, we have no other speakers on this.
The gentlewoman from New Mexico is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I urge my colleagues to support this straightforward correction of the law and yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentlewoman from the District of Columbia is recognized.
Madam Speaker, I urge passage of H.R. 8665 and yield back the balance of my
The
time.
gentlewoman yields. The question is, will the House suspend the rules and pass the bill H.R. 8665? Those in favor